So the card that comes to mind for this week's episode is blacks get free tuition and books while whites struggle to pay for college.
Huh.
And go!
Blacks get free tuition and books while whites struggle to pay for college. I would say fiction. At one point, I would say.
If you would have caught me 30 years ago, I would have said fact.
And you know what? No, I still would have said fact on this while whites struggle to pay for college. My fact would have been that I struggled to pay for college.
Yeah, I did.
And I'm black, so it wouldn't have been fact on this per se.
So it's a funny story. It's really, I guess it's
Not
funny.
funny.
It's funny to me.
It's funny now. It wasn't
So we
funny
took a
then.
course.
It's not funny that we look back on it and I see myself
not.
and I'm
You
just
know
like,
why?
wow, that's how I thought. That's what I thought.
I know, because so the class was
Kinda
it was
disrespectful.
all blacks. It was all blacks in this class. Dr. Collins. It was at UB. Dr. Collins taught a class, and it was welfare in the inner city.
Welfare and
That's what it's
welfare
called.
Impact in the inner city.
Yes, it was
Welfare
a good
impact.
class.
Yeah.
And so we wrote papers on this, and we had to get up and we had to present. And I'm almost ashamed that I say this, because when I look back at it now, like, I'm like, Jesus, Sarah,
What was I
come
thinking
on.
about?
But at the time, this is really truly how I felt.
We were young
And I was in my,
Republicans.
I think, we were. So the paper that we both wrote.
So I think I was a little angry because, okay, so I gotta tell the whole story because I don't want to, look like I'm really the bad guy. But when I
You're
look back on
Republican.
it now, I was just like, wow, that's how I thought. No, because now, see, I think that, money should be provided for people that have been, what's the word I'm looking for? Money should be provided for people of color to go to school when we've been stopped for so long from going to school. And I know that was a while ago, but at the same time, it still affects us today.
So, okay, my problem with it is, so if you would have caught me 20, 30 years ago, the system was set up, the way it was set up to fail.
Yeah.
So you took inner city black students, and they were given money to be able to go to college, and I totally understand now why.
Right, and I agree with that.
However,
that they should be.
So just to tell you about me, I graduate top 1% of my high school class. So I graduate number 3. Because my parents were both teachers, they did not. And they were trying to send 3 kids to college. They did not have the money to send us all to college, but they did not qualify for any type of services. So that's where we were. So EOP to me was not fair, because I saw EOP go to people who had a 75% average. So you were in a way kind of rewarded. You weren't the top of the class, and
you didn't work your butt off in school, and then you still were able.
And not only that, so then I would sit there and watch, like, even getting my courses. Like, I was probably the last to get the books, because
we'd be like 2 weeks behind. And
so
trying to
in
play
the
catch up.
summertime, it would be longer than that, because they wouldn't go back to school. The parents wouldn't go back to school till September, so they wouldn't get a paycheck. And so we didn't have books.
Right.
So my books were going to the library, trying to see if the book was even there.
And then
copying
making
the book, and then, trying to
Yeah.
make do. Or I would just be like 2 or 3 weeks behind when classes got started.
Mm-hmm.
The other piece of it was so I would watch, and they would have book banks set aside for these students. Well, you're getting a book check,
Right.
and then you have a book
bank.
library where you can go and you can actually get these books on loaner for the
Right.
semester. So people would turn around and get the books on loaner, and then go cash the checks, and then people walk around with, like, the latest gear.
Latest gear, putting
That
down
made
payments on
me
cars.
hot.
And so I was hot about that, because I'm like, wait a minute, you got your stuff paid for and you put a down payment on a car, and I'm
So here is
struggling.
fast forward. The name
do
of
this.
this, the name of our
Paper was
what was it? EOP is a form of welfare. That's what the paper was. And I mean, I can slap myself now because I get why.
I get why.
So EOP was set up for people, first generation. It was first generation students that could not, go to school by any other means. And so it was a really good program. I believe Arthur Eve started this program. But at the time I just couldn't get with it because of the fact that I didn't get it.
So it was a little about me not being able to get it and me struggling.
And why? What happened?
Struggle,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm just saying. So what happens to the students who actually, so their parents. So actually, I wasn't a first generation. We weren't first generation.
No.
But we did work our butts off. We both were in the top 5% of our graduating classes.
Taking college classes before we got there.
We did. I had college courses at UB before I even got there. Yeah. But the year I had taken all the Regents courses in order to be able to get a Regents diploma and to qualify for Regents scholarship. And they took and snatched the scholarship the year that I was supposed to graduate. So it was all for naught for 4 years, working my butt off, taking Regents courses, physics, earth science, So.
And then weren't able to get anything else because your parents made too much money. Not enough to send you, but too much to send you. Yeah. So I was a little hot with EOP.
So I've kind of just told on myself.
I get it now.
I do get it now. I mean, back then I probably was a rebel. And then to think about all of the people that were in the class, the majority of the African American population that was there were probably there from the results of EOP. And I have some really good friends who use those types of funds and are doing amazing things. I mean, engineers and doctors, and I mean, they're killing the game, PhDs. But
so I'm really proud that that the program exists, and but at the time it was mentally I was somewhere else. I didn't feel it was fair. We're telling ourselves right now. But I mean, it is.
So everybody, you know what? And just to go back to this, I'm sorry. So even though blacks get free tuition, and it's not all of them, obviously.
Nope.
We all are struggling. So you think a student is coming in from a household with a low socioeconomic status, couldn't really afford to be there in the first place. Living off of whatever you're given for the food voucher. You really are struggling. So even though you're getting your books paid for, it's still a struggle to be there, being first generation and all those factors.
It was a struggle being second generation. But then, so the other part is a lot. So we all are programmed to think certain ways about certain groups of people. So automatically, when you see black people, that might be a thought of, oh, they are here free, which I definitely was not.
Or even, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Because I'm sorry, I messed up your train of thought. I was just thinking about even so when you get into these higher leveled grad programs, post bachelorette programs like medical school or law school, and you see a couple black brown folks sprinkled in there. Of course, they're there because they're there for affirmative action, or they assume. Yeah, so I just said that. I just felt like I wanted to say that.
Yeah.
Just because they're there doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be there.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be there. It doesn't mean that they do not deserve to be there. And a lot of times people assume that they're not paying. And they are paying. And that's basically because of what the media has shown you.
We're on media now, and yet.
What the media has shown us.
Yes.
Programming,
yes.
Yeah.
Historically, society and in the social realm, the media has portrayed us, or
as not being capable.
Of not being as smart, poor all the time, where that's not the case.
That's not the case. There's poor people. There's people that aren't smart in every situation, every shade. Mm-hmm. Today's show has been brought to you by the Original Multimedia Juice. You can check them out at Molson Beverages. You can purchase them at
Wegmans.
There's also a little store in the Galleria Mall you can get some.
They're very, very yummy.
Very good. But once you have contact contact with a person, somebody that has a different skin tone from you. Once you have that contact, you're less likely to treat them in a negative manner, or if you see something happening, you're more likely to stand up and say, hold up, that's not right, as opposed to, well, it doesn't matter to me, it's not affecting me.
Welcome back to another episode of The Race Card. I am Sarah Pearson Collins.
Didn't I say we didn't have to do that?
Okay. All right, you got it.
Welcome back to another episode of The Race Card. We're here. I'm Keziah Pearson. This is Sarah Pearson Collins.
Oh, but we don't have to do that.